What's up? We are live. We are live. I hope you guys had a very, very Merry Christmas. I hope that you're excited about next year. I hope that you've already been putting in some work to make sure that next year is awesome. And I'm excited about this one today. So, this one's not necessarily a live that's going to make you feel all good until the end, because there are answers and there are solutions. With that being said, something that I've found as I've been working in this industry for a long time and all that is that marketing's expensive, more expensive than you even realize. And good marketing, which means you're hiring someone that knows what they're doing and has a team and all of that, is expensive because their management fee is going to be a little higher than the others. And then you're going to need to be spending the right number in ad spend and all that. And there's just going to be some struggle. So as I was doing that, and as I've kind of been working in this industry for a long time, I've made various different calculators on Excel. And one of them was a needs analysis calculator. So, okay, you're doing 5 roofs, but you want to do 10. How much ad spend do you need? What's your closing rate? What's your conversion rate? And all that. Just some nerdy technical stuff. But as I did that, I realized a lot of people, when they're trying to go from this number to this number, say 8 roofs to 12 roofs or something like that, they might not have the cash flow and the budget to spend the amount of money that's necessary to spend to take their stuff to the next level. And what that does is that drives up their cost per appointment to a massive level, that drives up their cost per acquisition to a big level. And at the end of the day, they kind of end up breaking even a little bit on their marketing, and it just never gets exciting. And what I've seen over and over again is that leaves people wondering what the heck is going on. Maybe marketing doesn't work. All marketers are scam artists and all that. And I understand why you think that. In fact, one of the things, it was about a year ago, a marketing industry that I know serves the roof, a marketing company that serves the roofing industry, and it's not someone that is worth mentioning. It's not one of the big people that you think of, so there's not really any need to guess who it is. But a marketing company who serves the roofing industry, who is relatively legit, said, we're just kind of selling smoke to these guys. And I said, why? And they said, well, look at the math. They have to spend way more than they're willing to spend in order to hit the numbers that they need to hit. So really, we're just getting them in areas and all of that. And that bothered me a lot, because I was wondering, okay, how's anyone ever going to grow? Or do people just have to grind and then only hire a marketing company once they're doing 20 roofs a month or something, when they can afford to spend a little bit bigger of a budget? So that's kind of where this stems from. And that's kind of put me on a path to figure out what things can and should the roofing contractors I work with, and just the roofing industry in general, what do they need to be doing each time they hit a job and all that? How can they maximize every opportunity that they get? Because they can't necessarily charge way more. They can't necessarily lower their costs. I worked in distribution. Like, you don't have much wiggle room. A lot of the time y'all are arguing over like $1 or $2 a square, which I understand why, but like, that's about as much as you can mess around with the numbers on the material side. On the labor side, you don't really want to lowball your labor guy and try to come up with the lowest rate. And then there are relatively fixed margins that are acceptable within the roofing industry. Now, some people have significantly better margins than the others, but that's usually due to a few other factors that are maybe a little less controllable. So, with all that to be said, what can you do? So first of all, if you're watching this live, go ahead and just say hi in the comments. I just want to kind of see who's here. I see the notifications, but just kind of let me know who you are, where you're coming from. You can let me know if you've had a bad experience with the market or whatever. Because I want to show you something that I think is going to help. And I'm about to share my screen. This isn't going to be the longest one, but I really want to make sure you guys see very clearly on the math behind it. I think that that's going to be very, very relevant for you. So I'm going to add this to the screen, and I'm going to go ahead and switch screens so it's big for me. But this, guys and gals, is basically a marketing spend breakdown. I'll walk you through it real quick, kind of one by one, so you can see what we're doing. I'm going to make sure I can see what's going on my phone so I don't actually here. I can do this. So this is a marketing spend breakdown. And what's up, Joseph? So this is assuming that you're currently doing 8 jobs a month. I'm going to zoom in so you can maybe see a little better. So currently doing 8 jobs a month. You want to do 12 jobs a month. So that means the difference, the delta between 8 and 12 is 4. So, yeah, exactly, Joseph. Been through the ringer. That's unfortunately a very common thing. What up, Matt? How you doing? Good to see you here. So for delta, closing rate. A lot of people say they have a 40, 50, 60% closing rate. On average, I've looked very carefully. I've analyzed appointments to close deals and all of that in a ton of different companies. Y'all's average closing rate is about 30%. We can play with the numbers and show what a good closing rate can do, but just so you know, even if you tell me that you have a 50% closing rate, I would challenge you to really look at who you've talked to and who's turned into deals and make sure that you're measuring that properly. So what this means, if you're doing 8 jobs and you have a 30% closing rate, that means on average, you have about 26 inbound calls or appointments coming in some way. They might not be the busiest things. They might just be little repairs and all of that, but you're probably on average talking to about 26 people a month. In order to close 12 people a month, you need 40 appointments. So 30% of 40 is 12. So what that means is the additional appointments needed from the existing lead flow versus what you need is going to be about 13 appointments. So first of all, a lot of the time you got to work backwards. Most people are going to say, oh, well, I want to do this. And they just kind of make up an ad spend number, which is fine. And a lot of marketing companies, including myself, I have the math kind of memorized. So I can just okay, if this is where you're trying to go and this is where you want to go, this is a good starting point. Or maybe they say, hey, I want to go from 8 roofs a month to 20 roofs a month. And we know, hey, you got to scale up to that. That's not something that's going to happen immediately. So it's good to work backwards. So 13 appointments. 13 appointments is kind of a good number to go for. Your average cost per conversion, what I've seen across the board all over the country, and I say average, so that means sometimes it's higher and sometimes it's lower, but the average cost per conversion is about $150 right now. We measure a conversion by someone filling out a form on your website from a Google ad or someone calling, and we have call tracking software, and that call is over a minute long. So we just want to make sure it's a real conversation. Website conversion rate. It's nice and important to have a good landing page or good website. If you look what happens here, if your website conversion rate goes from 10 to 5%, which probably some of you guys have a 5%, then your cost per conversion goes all the way up to 300%. So you've got to make sure you have a good website. That investment, even if you're spending 8, 9, 10, 12, whatever, that's going to be worth it. That's something that you need to understand. You need to see, yes, a website is worth it. If I spend $3,000 on a website and it doesn't do what I want, then you have to understand like you're hanging all of your other online marketing onto a $3,000 investment. Really, your website is the home and the base. So that's why you see a lot of great marketers who I do love and respect, Michael Stearns and Tim Brown, two of the people that I think are some of the top-notch marketers in the industry when it comes to building websites and stuff. Dean White, up and comer, love his websites. I think he does very well. You're going to see them charging a good amount for a website. And it's not because they're just being greedy. It's because that's one of the most important places to really, really focus. So good website, very important. That's a huge factor. Cost per click, that's going to be just an average. Rate of conversion to appointment. And guys, stick with me while I'm doing some of this math. I know it's a lot, but I want to show you something that you need to understand as a business owner. It's not the sexy stuff, but making decisions not based on these numbers and just based off of feel or even blindly trusting someone is likely going to get you in trouble. And potentially, if you have had bad experience with the marketing company, you're more likely to repeat history if you continue making decisions without this math. So rate of conversion to appointment, 60 to 70% is what we've seen across the board as an average. So that means for every 1 minute phone call, 6 out of 10 are turning into appointments, or 7 out of 10. If you have seen if you are getting a form fill, you're probably going to be able to get a hold of about 6 out of 10 to 7 out of 10. So important numbers. So with that being said, if your cost per lead is $150 and 60% of those are turning into appointments, your average cost per appointment in ad spend is going to be $250. Your average cost per acquisition, if you have a 30% closing rate, it's going to be about $833. So important numbers, $833 for a $10,000 job or $11,000 job or $12,000 job. Not that bad. With that being said, this is where you need to think of, okay, how much commission am I doing? How much, what overhead do I have? What variable costs? Did I estimate the job well and all of that? So it shows you that things can get kind of tight. Here's what people don't talk about. One of the big things, if you are spending money on pay-per-click, odds are someone is also selling you on SEO at the same time. Most people don't just do pay-per-click. And I'm actually not suggesting that you do. The thing about pay-per-click, and just so you understand, it's paid advertising. So it's imagine that you have a billboard and the billboard is getting you some leads and all of that. But the day that you're spending daily for that billboard, the day you stop spending money on that billboard, the billboard just vanishes. So that's a way to think about paid advertising. And it's something that you definitely need to watch out for and understand that it's not necessarily going to promote lasting growth. It's just going to be something that helps kind of boost up your leads and helps bolster what you're already doing. So SEO and pay-per-click. If you find someone that's charging less than $3,500 a month for SEO and pay-per-click, you may have found somebody that just has a low fulfillment cost. So I've had situations where I've charged $2,000 or $2,500 for SEO and pay-per-click. Over time, I've realized that if you're spending the right amount of ad spend, and if we are in a market that is competitive, about $3,500 a month is, I'm not going to say the lowest you could go, but that's what you'll find is the average cost per management fee for an SEO and pay-per-click combination for someone that's really going to do a good job and really make sure things are. I know, once again, Michael Stearns and Tim Brown, who I think are fantastic, I think they're a little bit more expensive than that. I know Tim Brown is, I'd imagine Michael Stearns is. But that's kind of where you're going to find. And then you're going to find people like Tim and Michael that do really, really well, and they charge for that. So it's good. Those people are more likely to help you reach your desired result. So I'm not saying the rule of thumb is to spend more on your management fee, but I will say just be aware that like too low of a management fee is something you need to watch out for. So now to go back, we have our management fee, $3,500 a month. Ad spend budget needed, $3,333. Why? Because you need 4 jobs, and 4 jobs times your cost per acquisition and ad spend is $833. So total, you're spending right around $6,000, or a little less than $7,000 a month, $6,833. So no joke, that's a good chunk of change. Anyone who goes from not spending $6,800 a month to spending $6,800 a month is going to likely feel it within their business. What I want to look at, and this is the part that no one thinks about, no one talks about, and this is the part that really, really hurts roofing business owners. With this situation, you're doing 8 jobs currently a month. You want to do 12 jobs a month. You need to do 4 more to hit that. You're spending $6,800 to do 4 more jobs. You have commission on those jobs and all that. And then every appointment is costing you $512 on average. That's a lot. That's not a very scalable number. In order to acquire a customer, it's costing you $1,700. These numbers start hurting pretty bad. I want to show you something else. Say you suck at answering your phone. 562, 800. I've had people who are even less than that because they just don't answer their phone. Say you're worse at sales than 20%. You're below average at sales. And I hate to say it, but there's a shot that you are. I've seen people, a huge roofing company, I've seen them and they're at 12% as a closing rate as a company. They do $15 million a year. 12%. They're spending a lot more money on marketing than they need to. So look at 20%. $2,125. I don't know how that just went down, but yeah. So I don't know why that just went down. My calculator must be off. But either way, 2,000. I don't know how that works. But right around 2,000. That's the right math. 1,700. So you see, like, that's a crazy cost per acquisition. Ad spend wise, you need to be spending 110 a day. You need to be spending a little over 700, close to 800 a week in ad spend. And you're spending $1,700 to acquire a customer, where maybe your gross profit is $3,000. Then you gave 10% of the job. So you gave $1,000 to that. So say your gross profit was $3,000. It cost you $1,700 to do it. You gave $1,000 commission. That means the company has less than $300 to take home. So that is why a lot of the time marketing companies don't work. That's why a lot of the time you hire a marketing company and this happens, because I'll tell you this, and I see, Michael, you said lots of bad performance out there. You're right. With that being said, $150 cost per conversion, that's what you're going to get. That's an average number for a cost per lead on Google Ads. Anyone who tells you that they're going to get a lower cost per conversion is likely wrong. Frankly, I've talked to all of the top marketing companies. We've been doing this for a long time. We have a ton of data. $150 cost per conversion is pretty average. 60% conversion to appointment rate is pretty average. $250 cost per appointment and ad spend is pretty average. Your SEO is going to take about a year to work. So it really doesn't get factored in the first few months, which is usually where people get lost. Closing rate is a huge concern and all of that. How many appointments needed? Your goals. We need to 4 jobs, 4 times 833, 3,333 in ad spend. So rough numbers. It doesn't really work. Now, let's look at this. Say you're doing 8 jobs and you want to do 18 jobs or 16 jobs. You want to double it. Your goal actually is going to help you because you're going to spend more money in ad spend, 6,666. Your management fee of 3,500 is going to get spread out now between the 53 appointments needed or 26 appointments needed, and you're all of a sudden going to have a much lower cost per acquisition. Your cost per appointment with the management fee is going to start getting reasonable and all of that. It's still a lot, 381. So the point is, a reasonable goal is to go from 2 roofs a week to 3 roofs a week. That's a pretty reasonable goal because we don't want to do anything where we're just going crazy and changing everything all the time, or like, okay, I'm going to spend all of the money, because most of the time, if someone's doing 8 roofs, they don't have the money in their account to float over $10,000 a month in ad spend. That's not something that most people are going to be able to do. So if you have reasonable goals, what solution do you have? How are you possibly able to make a marketing campaign succeed if your cost per acquisition is $1,700? So, first of all, that's the bad news. That's the rough part. That's the stuff that I hate to tell you, but it's true. These are averages. These numbers are averages. This number's average. This number's average. 833 cost per acquisition. If you just looked at that, it's not so bad. But even if you wanted to do 20 jobs, you have 12 more that you wanted to do, your cost per acquisition still is over $1,000. And then say, once again, you have that $1,000 in commission. The business is only taking home gross $800 or $900 at the end of the month on this. So at a $10,000 ad spend budget, which means they're spending $1,125 to take home $800. Not saying that that doesn't work, because the math still is fine, but it's skinny. It's not exciting. So what choice do you have? Well, and I'm going to say this because it's very, very important for you to know. It's your responsibility as the roofing company, just as much as it is the marketer's responsibility, to maximize the potential and maximize each opportunity. Those are the economics of marketing your business. Your SEO is going to take about a year. If you haven't been investing in SEO for a long time, there's going to be a time where you're eating it and you're breaking even or losing money on the investment. Now, that doesn't mean that will be the case forever, but that does mean that it's something that you have to consider and be very aware of. What's the other thing that you need to understand? It's your responsibility to maximize each opportunity. If we're in a situation where every lead is costing you $400 to $500 because $3,000 a month is the max you can spend in ad spend and $3,500 is the management fee that you can afford, you're in a situation where, okay, that's $6,500 a month going out. What's coming in? You have 4 jobs that you want to add to the month a year. That could be $40,000 in extra revenue, $480,000 a year in added revenue. That's good. That's not that bad. With that being said, what do you have to do with those appointments? How can you maximize them? Because if you get $400,000 in extra revenue, but you're making $300 gross per job after commissions paid out and after you pay an ad spend and all of that, then it doesn't really work very well. What can you do? So this is what you can do. If you look at this sheet, same thing, 8, 12, 30% closing rate, blah, 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 blah. With that being said, if you are increasing your SEO over time, that's going to give you a multiple. Your cost per appointment is going to go down. If you're doing direct mail around job sites, so we have the 4 growth engines, and I'll tag you in another video. Let me know if you want to be tagged in it, or if you want the PDF or anything like that. Direct mail, canvassing, general 4 growth engine implementation. So if you're maximizing each thing, if you have a process for getting more leads, more referrals, marketing around the job sites, getting reviews and all of that, if every job you're looking at as an opportunity to get more jobs, then you can add a little multiple in. So say it starts at just 1.5. That means instead of 12 appointments needed, you need 8. So, okay, I don't have to spend so much in ad spend. I can actually get my cost per acquisition to $1,400 by doing this. Say you get this stuff implemented very well. Okay, 6 appointments. Need way less ad spend. Cost per acquisition is this. Maybe because you're doing this, you can increase your goal. So, okay, I'm going to try to get 14 jobs a month. Multiple, 2,500 in ad spend, cost per acquisition goes down because now you can afford to spend more in ad spend. Say you still wanted to spend that same 3,000, which I would encourage you to. Okay, so $3,000 in ad spend, so you're at that $6,800 a month in marketing fees. Cost per appointment's $256 because we have a good multiple going. You are consistently turning one opportunity into multiple opportunities, multiple referrals, marketing around the job. Your cost per acquisition with the management fee is going down to $854. So what you see is this significantly lowers your rates. This cuts it, and this gives you the ability to spend more in advertising. This gives you the ability to set bigger goals, all that, because you're not a slave to the marketing company. The marketing company is only getting you in the areas that you need to be in. That's their point. When you don't have a massive budget, the goal of hiring a marketing agency is to be in more places, is to get into new areas, is to get into new neighborhoods. That is going to be what allows you to grow. That's going to be what allows you to build more business and get to that next level. You see, if you are just getting started, you want to spend $6,500 or $6,800 a month in your marketing, and you think, okay, this is it. I'm going to spend the big bucks. You're going to be disappointed if you just are expecting your marketing to do all the work. Your cost per acquisition is going to be high. You're going to realize I have almost the exact same amount of money in my account as I did before. I don't understand why, because you maybe didn't do the math. Now that you know the math, it's your responsibility to figure out how to make it work, because those numbers aren't changing. You could spend more money in ad spend. That's added cost, added risk. You're putting more on the marketer and less on yourself. Probably not a good idea in business. Or you could set up strategies to implement within your business where you are maximizing each opportunity, where you are advertising to the neighbors of the job. You're canvassing where you've already put some work in. You're putting you're doing direct mail to the neighbors. You have a system for getting more and more referrals from the different appointments that you're setting. You incentivize them and have organized and standardized your referral process rather than just casually saying that $250 a job or something like that. It's very, very important, men and women, to understand that it's your responsibility to make this work. The marketing companies, they want to tell you that they can be the hero, but they can't. They cannot undo these numbers. $150 cost per conversion, $250 cost per appointment. Those are the numbers. That's the average number. If their management fee, because they're good and they're worth it, is $3,500, you're spending $6,000 to $7,000 in marketing a month. Your cost per appointment is going to be in that $500 range. If your cost per appointment is in a $500 range, your closing rate's 30%, then your cost per acquisition is going to be very, very high, and you're not going to be able to do much with it. But if you can use the opportunity to get more jobs, get more appointments and all of that in the areas that you're working, then you can significantly increase the output of what's you're investing your money in. That's what you need to know. This is what to do about it. Marketing companies don't want to tell you that you have to go put in all the work. They're scared to. And I get it. You're spending a lot of money with them. People are spending a lot of money with me. With that being said, if I don't have the proper ad spend, I can't wave a wand and change these numbers. $3,000 a month in ad spend sounds like a lot. It's not that much when you actually look at it in the grand scheme of the money being spent in most markets. I'm not saying that you need to spend way more than that, but I am saying if you're going to spend that much in ad spend, you need to look and understand where else you can use the investment that you're making to grow and scale your business. If you don't do that, then it's going to be difficult and it's going to be hard for you to grow and have your business do what you need it to do. So please, please, please make sure that you maximize your opportunities. A good practice, something to walk away from, whether you have a marketing company or not, is every lead, every opportunity, you have the ability to use that opportunity as a way to increase and multiply that same opportunity. You have the ability. Look at my other training videos. Look at trainings on the 4 growth engines. Look at the one I did last week about marketing strategy for 2023. These are things that if you do that, you're going to start seeing more appointments and more jobs, and you're going to be able to maximize the different opportunities that you already have within your business. If you do maximize the opportunities that you already have within your business, you're going to be able to afford to spend more on marketing or less on marketing, depending on the route that you want to go. Something in the marketing world is people say the person who wins is the person who can spend the most to acquire a customer profitably. Now, in some industries, that means you have a higher margin. In some industries, that means you have lower cost per fulfillment or higher price or whatever. The roofing industry, we don't have that luxury. We cannot spend less on labor in any big multiple. Material is going to be a relatively fixed cost. Your margins, you can only get away with charging so much. Now, I do think a lot of you probably aren't charging enough, but you can only get away with charging so much. So what do you need to do in order to outspend your competition or outmaneuver your competition? You need to be able to take every opportunity that you've gotten, each lead that comes in. If you set up systems and processes to turn one lead into multiple leads, then your cost per appointment significantly goes down. Your cost per acquisition significantly goes down. And if your cost per acquisition goes down a significant number and your competition is out there trying to outspend you and do that, they're never going to be able to. They're never going to be able to compete. So this is how you win in marketing. This is how you grow and scale your roofing business with strategic advertising and all of that. Guys, I hope this was valuable. I hope you had a great Christmas. I appreciate you all. If you have any questions, message me. And we do have a couple spots open still. We've been at 3 out of 5 for a few days now. I think Christmas slowed things down on our discount for our consulting program. Usually $7,500 for 12 weeks, $4,000 for the first 5 people. 3 spots are taken, 2 left. Let us know, and hopefully we can do something. Have a great rest of your day, and Happy New Year's if I don't talk to you. See ya.